Good morning to all of you. How are you all? Hope you must be doing your assignments and worksheets, right? Now let us continue the growth of population and population growth and some topics like regional variation and subtopics like growth of adolescent population, challenges of adolescent population, different phases of population and national youth policy of 2014 we will discuss today. Okay. Now let me tell you something about this growth of population. With the help of this mind map, you can see that there are 4 phases: first, second, third and fourth, and let us discuss one by one in detail. Okay. What happened in fact that 4 clear phases of population growth in India that can be identified like a stagnant, steady, rapid and declining growth rate. Okay. The first one is the stagnant growth, which you can see that before 1921, it means that in between 1901 to 1921, or you can say that before 1921. Okay. This period from 1901 to 1921 is referred to as a period of stagnant or a stationary phase of growth of India's population. Since in this period growth rate was very low, okay, and then that in this decade or in the decade between 1911 and 21, the population of India actually declined by 7.70 lakh. But after 1921, you know what had happened? Population growth rate started rising steadily, and the year called year 1921 is known as demographic divide. Okay. Why? Because before this it was very low or stagnant growth of population, and then after this that 1921 that the population grew very fast, and that is why it is known as what? The demographic divide. During this phase both birth rate and death rate were high, and there must be some reason. The reasons for this were mainly poor health, mass illiteracy and scarcity of essential commodities on account of inefficient distribution system. Okay, that was the cause. Now the second phase, you can come to the second phase, which is called what? The rapid growth phase, and that was in fact 1951 to 81 or 1981. During this period population growth rate started rising steadily. Okay. And what was the cause? The main causes for the rise in the growth rate were rapid decline in death rate, and this compared to death rate, the decline in birth rate was very low, but there must be some reason behind it, which I will tell you later on. And then the increase in population of this period is thus termed as what? Mortality induced growth. Keep it in mind. That was called what? The increase in population of this period is termed as mortality induced growth. Okay. Now a rapid decline in death rate was the result of what? Everyone must be knowing. What was that? There was good improvements that took place in the health services, and some diseases like plague or epidemics like plague or malaria or cholera and others had been brought under control, and with the improvement in means of transport for food in areas having food scarcity could easily met. And then what had happened? That there was a better transport and communication system that improved the distribution system. Okay. And a spread of education, then also helped in improving sanitation and hygiene. Okay, sanitation and hygiene, which helped checking the diseases or control the diseases. Now people are more and more aware of these problems. Now, rising agricultural production has also helped in reducing the death rate. Rising agricultural production, now the food, as far as the food distribution or food security kind of thing, that was in fact the India or our country had good enough stock of this, and so that helped in reducing the death rate, which took place due to food scarcity. Now, the third one was 1951, the third phase was 1951 to 1981, and that was the rapid growth phase. During this period, a high growth rate caused the population of India to double within 3 decades. You know what is that, children? Population doubling time. Population doubling time is the period of time for any population to double in size at the current growth rate. Okay. Usually the questions are asked from here that what are the different phases, or mention the phases of the population growth of India. Well, so what had happened here, that the average annual growth rate of population during this period was 2.2%, and the increase in population of this period is termed as fertility induced growth. Fertility induced growth. Okay. The rapid growth was caused by rapid fall in death rate, and while birth rate remained high. Birth rate remained high, but there was a control over death rate, and the developmental work, or you can say development, different development works that led to improvement in quality of life and improved health and medical facilities led to rapid fall in death rate. Okay, and then you can say that there was a high natural increase and higher growth rate, and besides increased international migration, bringing in Tibetans and Bangladeshis and Nepalis and even people from Pakistan contributed to the high growth rate in our country. Okay, well, the last phase, or you can say that the 1981 to 2011 or till date, that you can see here that this phase was in fact this phase was, or the total population of India increased substantially in this period too. During the decade of 1981 or 1991, about 160 million people were added to it, another about 181 million during the next decade. However, growth rate started declining. It was good sign of the success of family welfare program. The birth rate, okay, family welfare program that was introduced in our country, and then the birth rate declined rapidly from 34,000 in 1981 to 21.4% or 21.4 per thousand in 2011. Though death rate also declined, but birth rate fell more steeply, causing growth rate to increase. Okay, and so you can see here that the growth rate of country's population though remained high, growth rate that remained high and has resulted showing down gradually, right? And then a downward trend, right? A downward trend of crude birth rate is held responsible for such a population growth. Once again I am telling you, a downward trend of crude birth rate is held responsible for such a population growth, and this was in turn affected by an increase in the mean age at marriage, improved quality of life, particularly education of females in the country. Okay. Now we'll discuss about the regional variations in the population growth. Okay. The growth rate of population during 1991 to 2001 in Indian states and union territories shows very obvious pattern. But the states like Kerala, Karnataka, or some other southern states, where that shows a low rate of growth not exceeding 20% over the decade. Kerala registered the lowest growth rate, that was about 9.4%, not only in this group of states but also in the country as a whole. Literacy rate increased in the state. A continuous belt of states from west to east in northwest, the north and north central parts of the country has relatively high growth rate than the southern states. It is in this belt you can see that the comprising Gujarat, Maharashtra, UP, Uttarakhand, MP, Sikkim, all these, that the growth rate on the average remain 20 to 25%. Okay, in these states, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Sikkim, Andhra Pradesh, Assam, West Bengal, I just now took the name of these states, where you can see that the growth rate on the average remained 20 to 20%. Okay, and during 2001 and 2011, that the growth rates of almost all states and union territories have registered a lower figure compared to the previous decade. And then one very important thing which you can see here, that some states, some union territories and the states like Nagaland, that had shown what the lowest or the negative growth rate in minus, and then Kerala, Goa, Andhra Pradesh, that has shown the increase in the growth rate. Okay. Now we'll have to discuss something about that the growth of adolescent population. How and why will we discuss about? Because an important aspect of population growth in India is the growth of its adolescents. At present, the share of adolescents, that is up to the age group of 10 to 19 years, 10 to 19 years, that is about 20.9% according to the census of 2011, among which male adolescents 52.7% and female adolescents 47.3%. The adolescent population they are regarded as a youthful population having high potentials, but at the same time there are some challenges, or you can say that they have some challenges, or you can say that but at the same time they are quite vulnerable. And if not guided and channelized properly, there are many challenges for the society as far as these adolescents are concerned, some of which are at lower age at marriage, illiteracy, particularly female illiteracy, school dropouts, and all these. Okay, challenges. But you can see here that some of the that the government of India has introduced or has undertaken certain policies to impart proper education to the adolescents group, and that took place in fact in the year of 2014, and that was called National Youth Policy. National Youth Policy, or NYP 2014, and that was launched in February and proposes a holistic vision for the youth of India, which is to empower the youth of the country to achieve to achieve their full potential, then enable and through them enable India to find its rightful place in the community of nations. And that is NYP 2014 has declined, or that has been defined youth as persons in the age group of 15 to 29 years. Now, according to National Youth Policy 2014, that has defined youth as a persons in the age group of 15 to 29 years, 15 to 29 years. Now, as just now before this I told you that there are some challenges of adolescent population, like or the adolescent population, if not guided properly, they are vulnerable to many risks. Like some of these challenges are, as I told you earlier, marriage at an early age, illiteracy especially among girls, school dropouts, low intake of nutrients, high mortality or maternal mortality rates, and high exposure to HIV or AIDS, and physical mental disability. Okay. Now, that's all about it for today. We had discussed about the National Youth Policy of 2014, then the adolescent populations, then challenges of adolescent population, then regional variations, okay, then the different phases, which is very important from examination point of view, different phases, demographic year, demographic divide, and all these things we have discussed about. Now, some facts as I have written here, you will do assignment 2 in your notebook. Okay, that's all for today.